Yeah, so this is a really cool, black hat tip or technique. But so let's assume that you double dipped with the agent. That agent is getting 6%. You've got now your executed contract. But remember how I said that there might be 9 or 10 other offers that came in?
Right, with another agent.
With another agent, yeah. Right? But the listing agent who we double dipped with knows all that. They've got all those offers. Mm-hmm. So here's what we do. Not until we have the contract, we call back up that listing agent and I say to the listing agent, I say, hey, listen, you know what? I got a lot going on right now. I think I might just let this deal go for a little bit more. I'll tell you what, you call back the other 9 people that offered. Mm-hmm. Clearly they want this deal.
Yeah.
And you let them know for X price, I'll let them have the deal. And you mark it up, whatever, 12,000.
Yep.
And then you say to the agent, if you get that done, on top of the 6%, I'll pay you another 2% bonus commission at closing for getting it done.
So yeah, you've structured the markup so that that 2% can go to them.
Or 2,000. Sorry, 2,000. So I just say $2,000. Yeah. So let's say that's why I say 12.
Got it. Okay.
And now what did they do? They know the buyers that wanted it. They got them. They made offers.
And yeah, totally. And this is this before you close on the property? Yeah. Once you have it locked up yourself?
Once you have the contract, you got it. Closing in 30 days or whatever, right? Yep. And then you have the agent call back everybody else interested and say, and all they're doing is they're saying, hey, you know what? I know you missed out on this one. It went went to this other person, but I just want to let you know that they'll let you have this deal if you want it.
Yeah, for another $10,000 or something.
Here's the price. Do you want it for that? And a lot of times they're like, well, it's a little more than what I wanted, but dude, I'll get the deal. I wanted it. I looked at it. I analyzed it.
Right.
I went through all the effort.
Oh man, that's genius.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah. So, Jerry, thank you so much for having me for our Thought Leader Spotlight series. This is the series where we welcome thought leaders onto our channel so that we can be inspired by their stories and learn from your techniques. So today, I've got a literal flipping genius, Jerry Norton. So Jerry went from digging holes in your 20s for minimum wage to becoming a millionaire by 30. Mm-hmm. And you're a leading expert on flipping homes and wholesaling homes. And you've flipped or wholesaled hundreds of homes yourself just in the past year. And through your products, your 650 plus YouTube videos, and also your training program called Flipping Mastery, you've actually helped thousands of other investors live their dream life through real estate investing. And you live your own dream life here in Arizona with your 10 kids. So thank you so much for having me here at your house. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here on your channel and be part of the spotlight.
Thanks. So let's roll right into question 1.
Sure.
So the first question is, you talk about the 4 important factors of a motivated seller or a good lead. Yes. So let me see if I can get all 4 of them right. So one of them's time, one of them's price, one of them is you might have to help me out here.
Condition.
Okay, condition. And what's the 4th one?
The motivating factor, the hardship.
The hardship, right? Yeah. Yep. Can you help us understand how each of those 4 play into a deal?
Sure. Well, obviously if you're looking to wholesale or looking to flip, looking to do deals, you've got to find a distressed property and you got to find a motivated seller that wants to get rid of that property because of the hardship it's causing them. So when you're talking to that seller, you want to find out, well, are they motivated? Is there something going on here where they're willing to sell that property at a discount? We have to buy at a discount to do a deal, right?
Right.
And so we kind of look for those 4 main pillars, those 4 main things. So just, again, you mentioned it, but real quickly, the driving factor, right? The hardship is there needs to be something compelling going on that is driving them to want to trade equity for peace of mind, right? They'll sell at a discount because they want that property out of their life.
Yeah.
So things like pre-foreclosure, they're behind on their taxes, like all of those different things. It needs a bunch of work and they don't want to spend the money to fix it up. They inherited it, they're out of state. There's hundreds of, maybe not hundreds, but there's dozens of very common reasons why someone would sell a property at a discount. So we want to find that out. So it's asking those questions like, okay, well, what is the hardship and uncovering that?
Right.
Condition is really clear. Someone's going to sell their property at a discount because of issues. So it's been neglected. There's work that needs done. You want to understand that. So just asking questions. What kind of condition is the home in? What kind of work does it need? That's that question. Time is another big indicator, because if they need to do something quickly, the motivation goes way up. So and usually it's 30 days or less would be considered pretty motivated.
Yep.
They've got to get something done, because if they can wait, then they might be able to sell at retail and get a higher price.
Yep.
So now you're able to help them a little bit less, because they're not so urgent to get it done. Totally. So more urgency creates more motivation. So that's time. And the last one is price, which is a deceiver a lot of times. A lot of times we think, well, the price they want is way higher than what I can pay. They must not be motivated. And that's not necessarily true, because what we found is whatever number they throw out there, they're maybe just starting out here, but they'll come down here.
Right, because you haven't uncovered any of the other factors yet.
Because of all the other factors, yes.
The timing reminds me of a deal I did where the son inherited his parents' property that was in really bad shape. And he had to pay off some of their debts in their estate within 30 days. So other debts unrelated to the house, so he needed that cash from that house to pay those off.
Immediately creates a huge motivation.
I don't know, now to think of it, I don't know why he would have to pay those off so quickly, but there was some part of that process that he was crunched for time.
Yeah, so understanding that really helps you put a deal together. Understanding those four main things. Yep.
Well, that was a great answer, and it kind of leads me into my next one. You talk about bleeding properties, and I would love if you could define what bleeding properties are, so that our audience can learn how to identify them and take action on them.
Yeah, great question. So it's a term I like to use where when a seller or an owner of a property, if there's no inherent value in that property, which means they're either living in it, so it's providing them shelter in their primary residence. If that's not the case and it's a property they own, if that thing is not income producing, then I call that bleeding, meaning it's costing them money. Because think about it, even if there's no tenant and it's sitting, they still have property taxes, they still have insurance, there's still going to be some upkeep, or they're neglecting the upkeep. And so that property now is bleeding. It's a loss to them every month,
right?
Which creates huge motivation.
Yeah.
So a lot of our absentee owner leads are all bleeding, right? Because it's not occupied by a tenant, so it's not producing rental income, and that thing's costing somebody to sit there. And when something's costing somebody, the motivation tends to go way up.
Oh yeah, totally. Especially if it's got a mortgage, insurance, utilities, so the pipes don't freeze, you know. Not here in Arizona, but other parts of the country.
Yeah, I mean, there's times where you get a seller who went from not motivated to extremely motivated because somebody threw a rock through the window, the city's calling now, or they get a fine because the whatever.
They don't have the cash to fix that, but they would need to fix that to stop the bleed.
To stop the bleeding.
Got it.
Yeah.
I like that term, bleeding properties. So we've talked about the condition, we've talked about the bleeding properties. One way to identify those, rolling into question 3, is you talk about driving for dollars sometimes. So can you talk about when you drive for dollars, what do you look for and how do you follow up with those properties?
Yeah, awesome question. So, these properties that are distressed, they're red flags in the neighborhood. I mean, like, if you've never done driving for dollars, it's the idea of you're gonna physically get in a car. Doesn't have to be you necessarily, but you're gonna get in and you're gonna circle around the neighborhoods in your market, and you're gonna look for these distressed, neglected properties. And now some of them are they're not so easy to identify if the property looks like someone's maintaining it. It still could be vacant, it still could be a highly motivated seller. But a lot of these, you can see it, right? You can see the neglect. You can see things like, the gutters need cleaned, or the grass is tall, newspapers piled up on the porch, or, notices on the door from the city. Those are all flags to you that this is probably a neglected property, more than likely vacant. In a lot of cases they're vacant. And there's probably a seller, an owner somewhere that would gladly sell this property if they knew about you. So the idea here is we're gonna identify those, find that owner, and offer to buy their property.
Got it.
Yeah.
And how do you follow up with those? Well, actually, before we go there, let's talk about question 4, which is, okay, let's say you get in touch with them, you found their house from driving for dollars. What is the information that you need to collect once you start a conversation with them whether you see them outside or they call you from a postcard or you cold call them, what all do you need to collect at that time?
Yeah, and I mean, David, this is an area that you excel in, expert in, but what I like to do is, if I've made the effort to now be in front of this property, I'm there, right? I've gotten in the car, I've spent gas money, I'm driving around, I find one, you know, they're probably not there. It's a little bit of effort to maybe get out of the car. A lot of people don't do this, but you're there, you're that far. We like to leave a note on the door. Maybe someone's checking on it, maybe they see that, maybe they don't, maybe it's a waste of time, but you're there. We like to maybe talk to the neighbor. Hey, they might have a phone number, a cell phone right to the seller. Maybe, right? You won't know till you ask. So there's other ways to track down that owner, but you're there. Why not implement leaving a sticky note on the door that says, hey, if you want to sell your property, call me, right? Simple as that. Knock the neighbors' doors, find out what's going on. Maybe they have a phone number. Those are some really simple things, but the whole key to this, and this is where, you know, what you've done really kind of takes this to a whole new level, is you want to be organized. The last thing you want to do, when I did this for years, I was so unorganized. I had spreadsheets and notes and like I couldn't remember which one I looked at, right? You can get super unorganized very quickly if you do this for a little bit.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to organize that data and know, okay, address, picture of the house, what's going on, what information I was able to gather on site.
Yep.
All of those type of things before you even started to track down an owner through other services and other tools.
Sure.
Skip tracing, right?
Sure. All right, so once you've, you know, maybe left that information on their door, you've had a conversation with them, you uncover, hey, there's like a timeliness, they really do need to get rid of this. Next comes analyzing properties. So on your Watch Me Wholesaling show, you go through property analysis all the time.
Yeah.
Yet it's still a really challenging thing for people to do. So could you point out some of the errors that new investors make typically when they're analyzing a deal?
Yeah, so analyzing is something that's very intimidating for new investors. And then after you do it for a while and you get comfortable with it, it gets easier and easier. So it's definitely one of those things where the more you do it, the easier it gets. But there's three main things that I look for when I analyze a deal. First of all, understanding what we're doing. We're trying to figure out the value of a subject property. And we're identifying the value based on what's going on in the neighborhood. So we want to look for data. We want to look at sold properties. That's a big thing. Look for solds, not actives. We don't know what those are going to actually sell for. We want to look for solds. We want to find properties that are similar in features to your subject property. So like-minded, like houses, you know, square footage, beds, baths, two-story style, so two-story versus one-story. Nothing's going to be identical perfect, but you want to get as closely related as you can.
Yeah.
Right? You wouldn't compare a 2,000 square foot two-story to a 1,000 square foot ranch. Different house, different size, right? Or a 5 acre to a 1 acre, those kinds of things. So you want to try to narrow down, we call it filters, put some filters in that are going to let you see similar properties. So it's sold, and sold recently. So we like to go back, I'm going back 6 months right now because there's so much data because of how hot the market is that you don't need to go back a year, and a year's old.
Yeah.
Right? So we go 6 months. We go sold 6 months, we go similar in features. Filters will let you do that, even for free on Zillow, Redfin. And then the last one is the neighborhood, so distance.
Okay.
So I like to stay in the neighborhood. I know people follow rules like half a mile. I don't care if it's a half a mile away. If I cross 3 main roads, I'm in a different school district, all of that. I don't care that it's close. I want to match my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Now, if I can go half a mile and it's still a comp, fine. I'll go a mile if it's still a comp, but I'm not going to cross 3 main roads, ignore a bunch of other solds closer just because it fits within a mile. So there's an art to it. It's a science, and there's a little bit of an art as well.
How do you handle some outliers?
There's always outliers. So I throw out the outliers. For example, if my subject property is 1,000 square foot and I've got 5 comps at 1,000 square foot that sold for $250, and I got one over here for $400, and you're like, why did that house sell for $400? But I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
You're going to get in trouble probably.
Yeah, it's good to take the average.
There might be something going on. There's usually an outlier. That's why we look for enough data. Like I like to look at 5 or 6 comps that are giving me the overall picture. They should be in the same price range to kind of prove my ARV, the value, right?
Have you ever run into any weird homes that don't seem to have an easy comp?
All the time. In fact, I don't run into it so much as my students do, because here's the thing. When you find these weird properties, they're not selling, they're sitting out there, they're easy to find. Everybody finds weird properties. So people bring me my students bring me weird properties. They're like, Jerry, is this a deal? No, that's a whack house. That's why it's been on the market for 3 years. Why are you bringing that to me to look at, right? But it's because they found it. Right. The good deals are gone really quickly. So weird deals are hard to comp. There's nothing that matches it. So you're guessing now. Now, can you buy it, do something, make money? Yeah, but you're guessing because you don't have data to support it. I don't like to guess. I want to have supporting data.
Yeah, me too.
Otherwise, it's risky. I might as well go to Vegas and play the slots if I'm going to guess.
Right. It's less of a business and more of a gamble if you're guessing and if you don't have the data.
I just did a coaching call with one of our high-end, and she brought me 3 whack deals. One was a duplex that needed converted back to a single family, and the floor plan was dual, right? So, okay, now what? We're gonna make it back to single family, change floor plan, get rid of one kitchen, move, that's kind of whack. Now you can do that, but it's odd and it's hard and it's what are the real numbers, and it's in an area where everyone's got duplexes. So now we're the only single family with why would we do that? It's weird.
Right.
Or she brought one that's a studio, multi-use studio. It's like, it's a commercial area, it's a studio. What can we do here? Nothing, that's whack, right? Find a house that's normal, right? With comps, and let's do that.
One thing that I noticed after doing like 5-10 deals is that a couple of homes may almost be the same footprint that I've actually done the renovations on. And that just speeds up the whole process because you don't even have to estimate repair costs because you know what it was.
Yeah.
So then I started refocusing on, let me try to do more deals that are alike.
Yeah, so the thing that you have to think about all the time when you flip is your end buyer. So if you think about someone buying that product, that house, your highest paid and most available buyer is retail, a homeowner. Then you're gonna have a flipper, right? Or no, not a flipper. You're gonna have a buy and hold. They're gonna pay more. They're gonna pay the next highest price. Why? They're not gonna spend as much money rehabbing. They're looking at cash flow. They're gonna pay more. Then you're gonna look at a flipper. They need a bigger discount because they're gonna fix it up and they need margin there, right? And so as a wholesaler, who is your intended end user? If it's clean and you can go straight retail, I go retail. I won't touch it and I'll sell it for 50 grand more because I got a deal, right?
I want to talk more about that actually because you're one of the few people that are speaking about doing wholesale deals from on-market properties. There's not a lot of people talking about sourcing deals that way. You're the leading one. So I wanted you to help us figure out what are some tips for getting an on-market deal at the right price, because that seems to be the biggest challenge.
Yeah, so first and foremost, you have to understand there's pros and cons to on-market. And if you don't understand the pros and cons, then you're gonna be disillusioned and you're gonna be disappointed, right?
Let's hear it.
So first of all, there's a huge benefit to on-market in that it's free. Free, right? Do you know how much we spend per contract off-market? $3,000 to $5,000 in marketing.
Surprise me.
In marketing, and that's the going. Like that's what wholesalers are paying. $3,000 to $5,000 in marketing to get an off-market contract that you wholesale.
Just one. Yeah.
Just one. That's not counting paying a salesperson acquisitions either.
Yeah.
That's marketing. Off-market or on-market, I don't pay a dime, not one dime, because it's public. It's out there, and the seller pays the commissions. So guys, just knowing that, if there's a way to tap into on-market leads and do deals, and I don't have to pay for marketing, do you know how big that is?
Sounds pretty good.
Right? Now, the opposite of that, there's a downside. The downside is that because it's on market, it's public, which means everybody and their brother knows about it, right? It's out there, everyone sees it. But where a lot of people are so confused about on market and where there's so much misinformation is people think all on market properties are unmotivated sellers. They're retail sellers. And it's not true. You have just as many motivated, highly motivated sellers that go on market. All they're doing differently is they're saying, I'm gonna get an agent to help me sell this property I don't want. That's it. Versus private where they're like, I don't want an agent, I don't wanna deal with that, I wanna find my own seller, cash buyer or buyer on my own through whatever channels, right?
Yep.
So people tell me all the time, they're not motivated sellers. Are you kidding me? Do you know how many deals we buy half of list price? Because I had a half.
No way.
Yeah, all the time. Now, not every day, not every offer, but the idea here is just like with off market, whatever number they throw out there, just like whatever number they list at, doesn't mean that that's what they'll take. So what does that mean for you and me? Just like with off market, it means put an offer in front of them and see what happens, and do it enough times and you're gonna land a deal for free. Didn't cost you anything. Right? Now we have a couple of techniques we do that give you a competitive advantage if you want to talk about.
I do want to talk about that.
Okay, so the thing is the way you have to understand agency. That's the whole key to this. If you don't understand agency, this won't make any sense to you. When someone hires a real estate agent, when a seller hires a real estate agent, they're agreeing to pay a total commission to sell that property. It could, and it's flexible, but the going commission is 6%. Most people know that, right? You're paying a total of 6% in commission to sell that property. How does the commission work? Well, 3% goes to the listing agent, typically, and the other 3% goes to a buyer's agent who brings a buyer. But who pays it? Seller. Not buyer, seller. Even though there's a buyer's agent representing a buyer, the seller still pays it. So a seller commits when they put this property up for sale that whatever they sell it for, 6% goes to pay commissions. Now what everybody does is they get a buyer's agent and they go and they make an offer. So now that buyer's agent gets 3, seller's agent gets 3, split, right? So think about it this way, David. If a property comes out for sale, there's 10 offers. 9 of those offers are with a cash buyer like me or like you, let's say you, and you're using your buyer's agent and you present that cash offer. And there's 9 more of them. Now it's all about price and terms.
Right, okay.
Let's say I come along now, and instead of bringing a buyer's agent to make my offer, I go directly to the listing agent and I say, hey, I'm unrepresented. Do you want to represent me as the buyer on this transaction?
So the agent is way more motivated to close the deal with you because they get paid double.
They're making twice as much money. Now, they're going to have to present all offers and all that crap, but here's the thing, it's never about the offer in hand. They're going to work hard still. Trust me, they work hard to get you that deal. Because they're getting 6%, not 3%. I just created a competitive advantage to beat out everybody else by going direct to the list agent. But it's more than that. Think about it this way. Let's say that you're still willing to pay $20,000 more than me. Seller takes your offer over mine. I miss out. I just created, though, with that listing agent, a double dip, we call it, a double dip relationship. It's called dual agency. So now, let's say tomorrow, that agent sits down with a seller. Seller says, I want to sell my house. It's a distressed situation. The agent says, you know what? I got a cash buyer that buys houses.
That's you.
His name's Jerry. Now, you're agreeing to pay a commission. So we got that, right? Yes. Okay, great. You're going to pay a 6% commission. How would you like to not even go on market and me go talk to this investor I know, and we'll just get this all done off market? Agent still gets 6%. Seller gets a deal done, assuming that I'll buy their deal. Now that agent just became a referral person for me because now they're bringing me these deals. Or that happens, or they're going to say, hey, Jerry, we're listing on Friday. Why don't you get in there, get your number all figured out, get it into me, I'll get it over to the seller. Maybe we'll beat the crowd and get our deal done.
Genius.
It's so genius, guys. I have agents where I've done dozens of deals with that agent because they know I get 6% with Jerry, I get 3% with everybody else, and it's 10 times more work because I got to deal with all these offers, all these agents, showings and everything, or I can get it done with Jerry and get 6%, make twice as much money.
From people out there.
And my students have too, But it's work, guys. I mean, that's just the thing. But so is off-market. Off-market's work too. Do you know how many moving parts there are with off-market, right? You got all this marketing. Ton of work. Ton of moving parts and a ton of cost. So, I mean, pick your poison, right? It's nice to get a good off-market deal where no one knows about it. You're the only person at the table. I mean, that's amazing, right? Who doesn't love that? You're the only one they're talking to. But come on, that isn't what happens. Most of the time, you're still competing with 5 other cash buyers.
And I love that the agent's totally on your side.
They're on
both
your
of those
side.
scenarios. And you're not following up with them. You're not kind of having to push a string uphill.
They're calling you.
The structure just really incentivizes them to continue working with you.
But here's the thing. A lot of people think there's some kind of difference in an offer in a contract because there's an agent. There's no difference. A purchase and sale agreement is a purchase and sale agreement. Whether it's your own or the agent's, it's all the same. So you get that contract. Agent's job is to get that contract to closing. They have nothing to do with you wholesaling it. They have nothing to do with your cash buyer. They're not part of that process. You take that fully executed contract that you now have and you go wholesale it. Now, the agent...
Do you have to have the agent mark a special line? Do you double close or do you do an assignment?
Assignments.
Okay, so that's available on the agent's official contract.
Yeah, so we have a 10-point checklist. We can put a link if you want below.
Let's do it, yeah.
But it's all the thing, because now the agent's writing the offer, not you. So you got to make sure that that offer they write for you is wholesaler friendly, meaning it's got the terms you need to be able to wholesale your contract.
Yes, okay, definitely check the checklist.
So basically you say, hey agent, here's all the things I need in this offer you're about to write for me to make sure, and those are all things that you want in that offer so that you can wholesale your property.
Yeah, so we're gonna put a link to that below. Is that part of what you call your quick start kit?
It's in the quick start kit, definitely.
Okay, so the quick start kit is below.
Yep, so that quick start kit has that and the scripts to talk to agents.
Perfect.
Yep.
There's another thing in your quick start kit. I heard about the double dip, but there's something called a triple dip as well. And I believe
this is really cool.
It has to do with finding an end buyer for your properties, right? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, so this is a really cool, black hat tip or technique. But so let's assume that you double dipped with the agent. That agent is getting 6%. You've got now your executed contract. But remember how I said that there might be 9 or 10 other offers that came in?
Right, with another agent.
With another agent, right? But the listing agent who we double dipped with knows all that. They've got all those offers. So here's what we do. Not until we have the contract, we call back up that listing agent and I say to the listing agent, I say, hey, listen, you know what? I got a lot going on right now. I think I might just let this deal go for a little bit more. I'll tell you what. You call back the other 9 people that offered. Clearly they want this deal.
Yeah.
And you let them know for X price, I'll let them have the deal. And you mark it up, whatever, 12,000.
Yep.
And then you say to the agent, if you get that done, on top of the 6%, I'll pay you another 2% bonus commission at closing for getting it done.
So yeah, you've structured the markup so that that 2% can go to them.
Or 2,000. So I just say $2,000. Yeah. So let's say, that's why I say 12.
Got it, okay.
And now what did they do? They know the buyers that wanted it. They got them, they made offers.
And yeah, totally. And is this before you close on the property?
Yeah.
Once you have it locked up yourself?
Once you have the contract, you got closing in 30 days or whatever, right? Yep. And then you have the agent call back everybody else interested and say, and all they're doing is they're saying, hey, you know what? I know you missed out on this one. It went to this other person, but I just want to let you know that they'll let you have this deal if you want it.
Yeah, for another $10,000 or something.
Here's the price. Do you want it for that? And a lot of times they're like, well, it's a little more than what I wanted, but dude, I'll get the deal. I wanted it. I looked at it. I analyzed it.
Right.
I went through all the effort.
Oh man, that's genius.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it happens,
amazing.
I say we do that about 25% of the time with on market, where the agent will work it. They'll work it, they'll call everybody and someone will want it.
That's amazing.
And we don't even know the cash buyer, you don't even talk to them, agent gets it all done.
Right. That would be like a one-time cash buyer because they're retail. They're buying at retail.
Well, not necessarily, they could be. But no, these are other investors like you that it was distressed, it was just on market. Usually they're flippers, usually they're buy and hold guys. They're just making an offer to get a deal. Okay. And you came in and stole it out from under them or whatever. Like, right, you got it.
Totally.
Because you double dipped.
Right, triple dipped now.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk about 2 other ways to find buyers. You outline Craigslist and direct mail for finding your buyers. Could you tell us a little bit about those 2 other strategies? Yeah,
so I mean, a lot of people think of direct mail for sellers, right? We're going to mail to sellers, but you can do direct mail to cash buyers. That's definitely an advanced strategy because now it's more about building a mass list. Because if you're going to spend money on direct mail to cash buyers, you got to be in a place where you're ready to really start to build that list because now you're spending money to build your cash buyer list. But you can acquire a list of cash buyers, right? They're people who bought homes with no mortgages, no debt. Cash buyer, right? They don't call it that on the lead source, on list source, or wherever you're getting your data from, but it's just homes without mortgages, probably an investor, and then you can mail to them. That's a kind of more of an advanced technique. We find a lot of cash buyers on Craigslist because they're on there marketing, they're on there looking for deals. So we'll advertise, we'll run ads on there or post on there. But honestly, I've got a much more favorite tip that has worked every single time I've done it.
Really?
And I do it a lot because I buy a lot of deals in virtual markets where I don't have a list. I don't know anybody. And this is really cool if you want me to share this. But what we do is, once you get your contract, what we do is we look at that neighborhood again. Remember our comping exercise? And what I do is I look for flippers who have either bought a distressed property and now they're in the process of fixing it up. They bought it, renovated it, now it's up for sale. So it's an active, and we know it's a flipper because it's all updated, it's vacant, and it's staged a lot of times. So, right, you can look and be like, this is a flipper, look how nice it is. Or they sold it, so it could be a recent sold comp. Any of those 3 points in time, they just bought it and they're fixing it, they bought it, it's up for sale, or they just sold it, is an active local flipper in your market where your deal is that's probably looking for another deal. And I'm an active flipper myself. I don't just wholesale, I flip a lot. I always like to do repeat deals in the same neighborhoods where I've previously done deals. I'll actually pay a premium because I know the neighborhood. I've figured out a lot of things. And my contractors, will go to that one too. So what I found is you can easily find the flippers in the neighborhood where your deal is. What I do is I don't skip trace and try to go directly to the flipper. I call the agent that represented them. And I say to that agent, hey, I've got a deal your flipper might be interested in. Will you have them take a look at it? Now the agent will do that for free because if their flipper buys your deal, they get another listing. The agent
will be selling it. That's right.
They get and they bring value to their flipper.
And are you thinking that the flipper's just too busy to take that call? You'd prefer to go contact the agent?
The reason why, it's not that. The reason why is because I don't do this until I get a contract, and now everything's fast now, right? So like I got to get a buyer. I got a window now. And it's faster to just go straight to the agent than it is to track down an owner. That's going to take a little time. I got to skip trace them. I got
is public and
they're right there. I look up their phone number, call them up. They call up so that's why now when the pressure's off, we go back and we skip trace and call every single one of those flippers on our list. That maybe we didn't get a hold of. And then we add them to our cash buyer list. But I found that if I can talk to 12 agents that represented 12 flippers in the neighborhood where my deal is, I can get a buyer.
12.
About 10 to 12.
That's your numbers looking back at all the deals you've done. It
only takes 10 to 12 and one of them's ready for another deal and its timing's right and all that.
That's amazing.
And there you go.
There's how analytical you are about that.
Guys, we tend to think I need 10,000 cash buyers. And I see a lot of education that says don't even start the business until you first build a cash buyer list. And there's nothing wrong with that advice other than you don't need a single cash buyer if you know how to find a cash buyer.
Sure. And if you have a good deal, cash buyers will pay for it. And in my experience, people are paying a lot for properties.
They're overpaying right now. The least of your worries is a buyer. That's the easiest part of the whole thing. Because they're dying for deals.
People are going to feel a lot of relief hearing you say that because it's the thing most people stress out about before they even go to step 2. They need to do step 1, which is find the deal. I
think you always find a deal. So my opinion is right now, as of this recording, given the market we're in, when it comes to wholesaling, 90% of the effort should be on acquisitions.
Got it. 90% of the effort should be on acquisitions.
90% of the whole process, the whole difficulty of wholesaling a house is acquisitions. It's getting that good deal. That's the hardest part because there's no inventory. We have to work. So where are you going to put your effort in cash buyers? No. Honestly, guys, I have students that are doing deals month in and month out. All they do is they put their deal on their local investor Facebook group and they got 10 people raising their hand.
Yeah, there's it's like 3 easy. For Indianapolis that I can think
Indianapolis
of right
is great investor Facebook pages. Yep. So and every market has a 2 or 3 really active Facebook investor groups. You get a deal. Now it's got to be a deal. If it's not a deal, that's a different story. But you get a good deal. You put it up on there. It's gone. Or you do my technique. You call 12 agents that represented 12 flippers in the neighborhood. It's gone. That's that easy.
Got it. Well, speaking of gone, in order to sell a deal, you actually have clarified 3 separate ways for actually doing a deal. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. What are the ways that you'd structure a deal other than wholesaling?
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. So I don't ever think you should be a one-trick pony in this business. It's okay if you start with just single closing assignments, right? So if you're unfamiliar with what that means, it means you go find a motivated seller, you get them to agree on price and terms, you get a written contract, right? Purchase and sale agreement, and then you take that piece of paper that now has equitable interest in the property, and you go to a cash buyer who wants that deal, and they'll buy the right to take in, the right to step in your place on the contract, right?
Right, that's
and
like an assignment.
That's an assignment, right? It's a straight assignment. What's great about it is you do a single closing, you don't have to bring money to the closing. It's awesome. But it's only one way.
Right.
It's only one way. And so I see so many wholesalers, and they're a one-trick pony. They have one way to take down a deal, one way to make money. And what that means is they got very narrow mind, they got blinders on, and they're limited in what they can do. I look at not just 3, but multiple ways, all under flipping, that I can do deals and make money. And I look at each and every deal and say, what's the best exit for this deal, given the time, energy, and effort? How do I maximize my profit on this deal? Looking at multiple ways of taking the deal down.
Got it.
And so we can talk about a couple of those different ways.
Yeah, what are those real quick besides the assignment? So
most people think of an assignment and they're comfortable and they understand that. It's your lowest risk. Like I said, no money involved. You can just, mark it up a little bit. A cash buyer steps in, that's great. Double closings are not really a strategy, they're more so a way to mitigate your publicly disclosing your wholesale fee, right? So a lot of wholesalers will double close it so that the cash buyer doesn't see how much they made.
Correct. And you need cash yourself, or you need a transactional funder. Yes. They lend you money for 24 hours or something, right?
For a day or for an hour. Yeah, because now you're doing 2 closings to not disclose your fee. That's okay. That's one way to do a deal. If you have big spreads, a lot of people do that. But what I look at really, David, is how can I take down the deal? And when I say take down, I mean buy it.
Yep.
Now, whenever you buy real estate, you take on more risk because now you own it. You own an asset. And when you own an asset, you got to manage an asset, right?
Right.
So there's more risk because you're going to fund it, you're going to borrow money, or put your money up. But when you own a property, you've now opened up a lot of possibilities for how you can flip it.
Okay.
So I look at lots of different ways. I can do a straight, no work at all, relist it for sale, and just sell it how it is.
And that would be a wholesale deal, I've heard.
People call it a wholesale. That means you're selling it to a retail buyer.
Got it.
I do this with really distressed properties to cash buyers.
Oh, really? Okay.
So think about it this way. Remember I talked about in the beginning your eyeballs on properties. When I take a property and I can put it on the MLS, I'm going to get maximum exposure.
Yeah, that's where everybody's looking.
I don't care if you have a 10,000 cash buyer list. If you put it on the MLS, you're going to have more people seeing it because now it's out to the public. So what I want to do, my main strategy right now as of this recording is I don't want to do assignments if I can help it. I want to take it down and I want to put it on that MLS where there's no inventory, and I want to get 1 million eyeballs of people dying for deals to see it.
Yeah.
I'll make way more money, even after the cost of buying it, cost of closing fees, even after cost of commissions. I make way more money. And I don't care if it's distressed or retail, either way, because what's going to happen is, I'll give you an example. We just did a deal where I bought it for 110. I could easily wholesale it. I put it out there for 15,000.
All right.
Right? 125.
Okay.
Right? Straight assignment, I make 15, amazing. I didn't. I bought it closed, put it on the MLS for 155, and got a full price offer.
No way. It's a really good thing you did that.
Why did they get 155? No one on my cash buyer list would pay 155, but my cash buyer list is like this. The market is like this.
Right.
And someone came along and they have whatever reason why they're willing to overpay, and they bought it for 155.
It could be right next door to their daughter's school and there's nothing else available. Just to name one thing, so that makes a lot of sense.
A lot of times it's a live-in flipper, I call them.
Yep.
It's not a flipper. It's some guy that's like, I'm handy.
Yeah, and he'll fix it up himself.
Because ARV was 190. So 155 is a deal.
That's pretty run down. Totally.
Yeah. 150. But a flipper on my list wants a deal.
Yeah, and if this guy is living in it, he's probably not counting his labor as the cost. No. So it could be a good deal for him if he's not including that. Let's wrap it up with 2 more questions. So you've been flipping homes for 17 years, I hear, and you've scaled your business. What advice and things have you learned along that journey of scaling specifically could you give our audience to somebody that's scaling right now? They're just approaching getting to $20, 20 deals, say, in this year, what advice would you give them when they're scaling at that stage?
Well, anybody that's scaling knows that they're going to run into the two P's to grow a business, and that's processes and people.
Okay.
And you have to put your energy into those two things, or it'll never happen. Processes is the way you do things. It's your standard operating procedures, right? And so if you can't start to leverage your model by having systems in place, then you're going to run around with all these people in a team, and it's going to be chaos. And you're going to lose money hand over fist because you're not organized with how you're doing things.
Yeah, stuff falls through the cracks.
Oh, yeah.
You want to hold the person accountable, but then if you really look at it, they didn't have a well enough defined process themselves. I'm speaking from experience.
Me too. Yeah, I mean, you are your worst enemy. You are the bottleneck in your business. You, the owner.
Yeah.
You always are. And because you're in your own way, so what that means is it means you got to figure out your processes, and your processes, and then the right people, the right butts in the right seats. So really at the end of the day, it's leadership. It's always leadership. And I kind of tell people that come through my training and that are looking to grow a business, make this not a side hustle, but a real thing, is talent will only follow vision. You cannot bring on talented people into your organization if they're not buying into your vision as the entrepreneur.
Totally. And
we had a conversation before we started here where Matt Kemp, one of your main guys on your team, I was telling you how impressed I am with him.
Yeah.
And that guy's going places. He's a smart guy. He's working hard. He's talented. He would not be in your organization, David, if he didn't buy into you as the visionary. He would be with another company that's going places.
Totally. That's so funny because it's word for word what he told me whenever he joined our team, was that he was so excited about the vision that I described to him. And that, of course, evolves over time, but it's awesome that what he's saying lines up with exactly what you're saying. And thanks for the compliments on Matt, too. He's such a hard worker. So thankful to have Matt on our team.
I mean, you want to not scale and run a crappy company, hire your brother-in-law who's out of work and you're trying to give him a job.
Yeah.
Right? I see this all the time. No, you want talent on your organization, and you got to have a vision, and you got to portray that vision all the time. I spend the most amount of my time with my team portraying vision, helping them see the big picture, helping them see where we're going, getting buy-in to why we're doing what we do. And people want to hitch their train to you if you're going somewhere. No one wants to be somewhere where they're like, you know what, this is just a job. If I get 50 cents an hour with something better, I'm out of here. That's the worst company to run ever.
So when you're saying invest in people and processes, on the process side specifically, is a Google Doc enough? Or where do you put that process?
That's a great starting point. Yeah, the more customization as you do it. But we ran our business for years on spreadsheets, right? Now we've developed software and tools that kind of more align with flipping and wholesaling, and that's really important, I think. There's great tools out there though. Like you're a software guy, you get it. Like really good software can take the place of 3 employees and a lot of brain damage, couldn't it? Right?
Good.
So processes are a huge part of it. We implement a lot of virtual assistants for our low-level activities, low task activities. But that's it. If you're thinking right now, hey, I'm trying to scale my business, it's about deals. It's not about deals. It's not about more leads. I don't think. That's part of it. But the what's going to take you to that next level is your ability to lead and your ability to own processes and manage those people and bring on talent.
Couldn't agree more. Let's roll into the last question, and that's, what is the final piece of advice you'd want everyone listening to take away? If you could boil it down to one thing.
I would say make mistakes, and don't let mistakes or the fear of mistakes stop you from starting. The biggest thing that I face with my coaching students is I don't want to mess up. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to lose money. What if I need to know everything before I can do anything? All of those things are limiting beliefs that are going to hold you back and prevent you from learning and growing and doing the business. The people I see that jump into this that are the most successful, the fastest, are willing to make mistakes and not let those mistakes define them, because they progress 10 times faster, right? So it's that imperfect action over perfect inaction.
Totally.
Right? It's that idea. For me, what's always worked well is jump into the deep end of the pool and doggy paddle for all it's worth. I'll learn so much faster that way.
I'm a learner by doer. For sure. I know not everyone is, but I really do believe in that. For me, it works really well.
That's hard for analytical people. The worst people to do any business is analytical people, because they tend to want to be very systemized, and there's no gut that's pulling the trigger on things, right? Like you gotta say, I don't know how it's going to work out. Let's try it.
Totally.
A little bit, right? Now I'm all for analytics, right? I'm all for data. I'm all for support of what you're doing, but at the same time, if you're looking at getting into this business, you're going to do a bad deal, or you're going to break up a contract. You're going to make a seller mad, right? It's going to happen. I've done deals where I've lost money on those deals, but I've never let that stop me or define me. I just get right back at it, and I say, what can I do differently now? How can I learn from this? The comfort zone to me is the kiss of death. And that's why I've been able to transition into, we do luxury multi-million-dollar flips, but it's taken years to get to there, of me pushing out of my comfort zone, flexing that risk muscle. And so guys, you gotta do it. There's no way around it. You've gotta flex the risk muscle. You gotta make mistakes and make it be okay. Like, I give you permission to mess up and sound like an idiot on the phone.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
But pick up the phone and call. You sound like a doofus. It's
You'll
okay.
probably sound better than you think.
You probably do, right? And when you do it 100 times, you're gonna sound better.
That's right.
So,
Absolutely.
it's just a learning curve. That's all.
Yep. Well, my name's David Letko, and this is Jerry Norton, and this has been another Thought Leader Spotlight series. Thank you so much for giving that final word of advice to take the massive imperfect action. And for everyone watching, thank you, and happy deal finding.